Turn that off for a moment. Hello, welcome back. Fred in the shed too, with the old hands of course. Just waiting for the 305 to start. I'm a little early up in the shack today. So yeah, I thought I'd do another chatty video, one of these shack chats. You seem to like them, I don't mind talking about them. Mainly about the old days really on CB, because I know some of you were too young, you didn't experience the classic days, the early 80s on CB, and it was a bit of a special time. Never really to be repeated. On this video, I thought I'd break it down into two subjects. First one is keying over someone, and we'll talk about that. How it started off as harmless fun. It really was, and in fact, it was very funny when it was done properly. There were some very funny people on the radio, and that sort of went a little bit wrong. It went a bit sinister, which we'll talk about that. And then I'll talk to you about stealing people's copies off the 1-4 breaking channel. Mainly stealing people's Lady Breaker copies, and how that happened to me, and how that became an art form. That was quite funny. But yeah, the first one was like keying over people. Now, when it first started happening, as I said, it was done as it was just done as a joke. I mean, there was so much wind-ups on. You got to think about CB. We was all kids, so we had very sarcastic, cheeky 15, 16, 17-year-olds. So there was absolutely loads and loads and loads of wind-ups going on CB. You needed your wits about you when you went on there, because you never knew if you were being told something that was genuine or it was a wind-up. But one of the things was keying over people when they were talking. Now, I'll give you an example and it's the same in every walk of life. There's always someone you know that is a lovely person. They can be a fantastic person, but they're just so incredibly boring. And you might think, yeah, I'm listening to one right now. Well, yeah, you are. You decided to tune into it. I didn't force your hand, but you know what I mean. You know, everyone, and this is where I'm just probably going to lose another 15 subscribers. Everyone knew a Nigel, so there's now 15 people. Oh, what name's Nigel? I don't think that's very fair. Unsubscribe. That's another 15 people gone. But I don't mean to ever go at anyone that's called Nigel. I'm going to use the name. It was just, you know, but everyone knew a Nigel. Nigel was a really, really nice guy, but he was bloody boring, and he would go on. And just in real life, where you meet these people at work, throughout your normal day, you might know someone at work. Your neighbour might be a Nigel. Well, you ask them a simple question and you have to stand there for 15 minutes while they sort of put the world to rights. Well, it was the same thing on radio, and yeah, we had a Nigel. His name wasn't Nigel, but we had a Nigel who was a really nice guy, very much into his radio, almost obsessed with his radio. And I'll put a picture up when I edit this, but he had a Binatone 5-star radio, which was, well, I mean, Binatone it was a very budget brand, very much like Amstrad, Fidelity, things like that. I mean, in the world of budget hi-fi and things like that, it was a little bit cheap and cheerful for the masses. But the Binatone 5-star radio did have a reputation to being a very sensitive radio. And I believe, don't quote me, but I believe it was on the same board as a Rotel, something like that. So yeah, actually, they're quite expensive. I think they're about £130 in Comet, whereas a 40-channel normal radio with less buttons on it, because the 5-star had lots and lots of knobs and buttons, which was always appealing when you were a kid. But a normal radio was say £50 to £60. 5-star was about 130, so it was well up there. Anyway, this guy, right, he loved his radio, and he would love to go on the air and then explain all of the features of his radio. And it had a fancy delta tune, which was that little triangle symbol. Do you remember those? And he would sort of, because it was always a bit mysterious, what the hell was a delta tune? It didn't seem to. And I've got one on the, if I zoom up there, we've got one on the old Humming Hurry, the Murphy base station. That's there you go. That's got a delta tune. And it doesn't seem to do anything on FM. I mean, FM's so wide It's not exactly like a clarifier. But anyway, he would go on about... So you can imagine this guy, and he would come on, and someone would say, oh, hello, mate, oh, you know, what radio are you using? Because we always used to ask, and he would be, oh, I'm on my Binatone 5-star, actually. It's a very fine radio. I'm very, very happy with it. It's got lots of controls. And then he would then go through it. You know, it's got a tone control, it's got a mic gain control, and it's got, of course, the exotic delta tune. That's not something that you would normally find on many CB radios, not ones that are in the UK anyway, so it kind of makes it quite unique, and I'm very pleased with its performance. I put it on a power meter the other day, and I was surprised. I was getting 4.25 watts out of the old girl. So and he would go on, and flipping heck, he would go on. So what people started doing was, whilst he was doing these massive long overs, of course people would key over him. So he'd be going, oh yes, it's a very far, I like the display, it's not dimmable, but blah, blah. And people would key up and say, bloody hell, is he ever going to finish? And then someone would say, oh, he likes the sound of his own voice, doesn't he? And so, yeah, he's doing my bloody head in, going on about that bloody Binatone 5-star. Oh my God. And of course, it would all be this fun and games, and he wouldn't have a clue what was happening because he couldn't receive while he was transmitting. And then he would sort of de-key, and the person he's speaking to would say, oh, yeah, that's really interesting, Nigel. Well, isn't that the same as the Rotel? Is it the 440? I mean, is it the same radio? And then, oh no, that's a common misconception. The Cybernet board in the Binatone 5-star does come from the... And he would go on, and someone else would keep, oh, thanks for that. He's going to go on for another bloody 20 minutes there. And then someone else would say, yeah, cheers, go on. Well, you know, what did we do to deserve this? And it would go on. People would key under people. And there was no malice in it. And the person being keyed under, I mean, they were the type of people that they didn't realise really what was happening because they were so, well, full of themselves, if you like. And it was fun, and it was even more fun when if you got someone like, I can't remember exactly how this went off, but I'll give you an example. We had like a couple of lady breakers. I think there was 2 or 3 of them like together. They were probably going to do a sleepover or sort of something. They were very giggly on air, on the 1-4, and they sounded like quite a laugh, these girls. And they'd gone up to this channel, and they'd got this guy who was a bit of a Nigel, and they were sort of saying something along the lines of they had an indoor antenna, and they weren't getting out very well. So they were wondering, should they put up an outdoor antenna? And this guy, right, he was being as kind as he could. He was being very, very genuine to him. And yeah, he was sort of coming up with things like, oh, okay, girls, well, you know, you'll always do better with an outside antenna. If you could put an outside antenna up, you know, you'll find that you'll receive better. You'll get up further. And the girls were winding him up, but he didn't really realise it, right? So the girls were, so she came back going, oh, an outside antenna? What, you mean like a big one? And he went, well, yeah, if you could get like an 18-foot base station antenna up, you know, I know it's quite big, but it'd do masses to your station. You'll be able to receive a whole lot better. And then she would say, oh, what you mean if I put up a big one? Oh, I've never put up a big one before. And he didn't realise. He was like, oh well, yeah, well, it does take a little bit of an effort. You probably would need some help. I don't think you could get it up on your own. And she was like, oh no, I've never put a big one up there before. And of course he would then come back, oh well, yeah, well you would, well of course, you know, the thing is, you'd need to put it on a very, very firm pole because they can bend. So people then started cutting under him, and you can imagine the sort of thing. And people would be sort of saying, well, I'll tell you what, love, if you want to put a big one up there, you give me a call, and I've got a very firm pole, and I can assure you my pole never bends. And then someone else would come and say, yeah, that's right, love, that's good advice. Always make sure, if you're going to put one up there, girl, put a big one up there. Make sure the pole don't bend, because there's nothing worse than trying to put up a big one and the pole bends. And she was going along with it, winding this guy up. And when he sort of de-keys, oh, thanks for that. Oh yeah, well, I've never handled a big one before. I really don't know how I would get on putting it up there. I probably need some help. And of course these blokes were straight, hey, love, anytime you want to help to shove a big one up, I'm your man, just give me a shout, no problem. And oh dear, this guy never had a clue. He thought he was doing the best thing. He never had a clue that people were keying over him and taking the piss. And it was done really, really well. And I was on the floor laughing. And these things went on all the time. And it happened to me. You needed, someone needed a sort of a strong signal. And you could always tell it if someone was coming in, if the lady breaker or whatever you were going to muck about with, say they were like an S8 signal and the other guy was about an S3 or something, you knew you stood a good chance that you could go over him. And being FM as well, because your radio, unlike sideband, it had a carrier wave, there was more chance that you could go over him and wipe him out. As long as you had a stronger signal, you could get over the top. And yeah, I'd say for the first year, 18 months that I was on CB, so we're talking 82 into 83, it was a good laugh. This going over people, it was no harm in it. But it started to take a sinister turn, and that was probably, after 18 months that I was coming. CB had probably been knocking about for about just over 2 years. And then people would do it, not to have a laugh, but to be sort of nasty about it. You know, people would start just keying over people. Of course, the Roger bleeping started, the Amstrad 901, things like that. Bleep, 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 bleep. And because there was like, I suppose it was like internet trolls. They would just pick on someone. If they got a reaction, and when the person dekeyed and the other person, oh, sorry mate, look, I couldn't understand a word you said because someone bleeped all over you. Of course, they'd be straight on the mic, yeah, who's bleeping all over? And of course, as soon as they started, they got a reaction. The other person was bleep, 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 bleep. And they got them on the hook, you see. And yeah, it sort of started getting a bit sinister in a way that you had these people that were coming onto the radio, not to make contact and have a laugh and enjoy the radio. They were coming on purely to wind people up, purely to cause trouble. And that was kind of a lot of the problem. Other than blocking the calling channel, playing music, that was quite a lot of the problem. And it's a shame really, but it led on to what led on from there. And you remember this if you was around in the day, because people were getting keyed over, and there were lots of these trolls just doing it, kids doing it. They would then go out and buy a linear amplifier, a little Satagi 50 watt amplifier at the time, which gave them extra power. And then the trolls learnt that they couldn't get over these people, so they would then themselves, where they got the money from I don't know, but they would then go out and they'd get a linear amplifier, maybe an 80 watt amplifier, and it just sort of went up and up and up and up to in the end that these guys had like massive amplifiers, and then they were causing big problems with like TVI interference. They were keying up, and then about 3 houses down the road, you know, little Doris trying to listen to her Archers on Radio 4, all they could hear was this bleep 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 coming through a wireless. So yeah, it wasn't good. It started off very, very funny, and it was done very, very well. And when keying over people was done well, it was funny. And even if you got keyed over yourself, and when you dekeyed, everyone was laughing. You knew it was a joke. You didn't, but it become malicious. It was a shame, really. But that was a bit of a downfall of CB radio. Right, stop. I just want to jump in and edit on myself. Now, if you like this kind of chat video and perhaps you're new to the channel, it might interest you to know that I have a second channel, Fred in the Shed 2. And I've been making these chat videos for quite some time now. They're normally quite amusing. Often they're very embarrassing to myself, but they're all true. I just have to tell the truth. It did happen, unfortunately. If you're interested on Fred in the Shed 2, what I've done, I've put all of the chat videos into a playlist now. I believe there's 10 videos at the moment. I'm going to be uploading another one just before Christmas. So get over to Fred in the Shed 2. I'll leave a little link in the description. There's other stuff on there as well. There's also expansions of my radio hobby. You'll find more details and longer videos on my radio, and also other things that I'm into. So pop over there and give me a sub while you're there, and then you won't miss any more videos. Right, let's get on to part 2 of this one. Thanks for watching. And that brings me on to stealing people's copies on the 1.4, mostly lady breakers on the 1.4. And again, this this wasn't done maliciously. It's all become a bit of an art form. Let me zoom into zoom in. Let me just tilt down to this Macom EM27 radio. So, for those of you that weren't on CB, we had channel the 1.4. That was our calling channel. So let's turn that to the 1.4. Got to be careful. I've not got an antenna in this, so I don't want to key up too much. Shouldn't key up at all, really. But so yeah, we had the 1.4. That was our home-based calling channel. 1.9 was mobiles, which you didn't mess about with because mobiles could track you down and turn up on your doorstep and give you a bit of a slap. So we didn't muck about with the 1.9. And the way it worked was you would go onto the 1.4. I won't key up, and you'd key up and you'd say, yeah, 1.4 for a copy, 1.4 for a copy. Someone would come back to you, and they always did, and they'd be, yeah, copy breaker, pick a window, which meant pick a channel. And you'd normally have had a little flick round because there was quite a few people on and you didn't want to pick a busy channel, so you'd have a flick round and you'd think, well, channel 30 was clear. So you go back to them and say, hello there mate, yeah, channel 30, and then you'd go off the calling channel, you'd go up to channel 30, and then you'd have your little chat, and then occasionally people would come on the side, normally would, and that's how it worked, you see. Now, when you was on the 1.4, we was all young and teenagers, and so girls, lady breakers were a premium, and there was a lot of new lady breakers kind of coming on, and it was a bit of a challenge at 15, 16 to kind of seem to be the first one to get hold of them and actually have a chat to them. It's almost like they came on, they were virgin lady breakers. If you heard a new voice, you were very, very quick to make a copy. So what would happen, and this happened to me, right, the first time, I must admit, I was a bit upset the first time this happened to me, but we soon got used to it. So you'd be sitting here, CB be on in the background, and then you'd hear a lady breaker come on. She'd be like, hello, yeah, 1.4 for a copy, 1.4 for a copy. And you thought, oh, it's a lady breaker. So you thought, oh, we'd jump in there. And you'd click up and you go, yeah, copy lady, we didn't say lady breaker, but yeah, copy breaker. You got Fred in the shed here, I'm coming back to you. What's your handle? And she would come back, oh, hello, Fred in the shed, it's, yeah, Silver Lady, I only came on yesterday. And you would say, yeah, well, no problem. Well, look, shall we clear the channel? Shall we like pick a channel? How about channel 30? Shall we go up to channel 30? And she would say, yeah, okay, channel 30. And you think, oh, great, you've got a nice little contact here. She'd only been on the radio sort of a day, so she hadn't learned all the lingo and she hadn't closed a lot of her kind of doors down yet. So, you know, they got very wise this quick. So anyway, so channel 30. So you would click up, and I did. You go up to your channel 30 on your radio there, and someone was on there talking, and you thought, oh, hang on a minute, that was clear a minute ago. And you'd think, hang on a minute, and you'd hear someone saying, yeah, come back, lady breaker, you got Fred in the shed here. And you think, hang on a minute, I'm Fred in the shed. And then she'd come back, oh, hello, Fred in the shed, oh, thanks for talking to me, because I'm quite new, I'm a little bit nervous. And he'd be like, no, don't be nervous, love. We're all friendly on here. We're all nice guys, you know. I'm a lovely guy myself. And I heard your voice on the 1.4. Oh, I want to tell you, love, you sounded lovely. You've got a lovely voice. Like velvet, it's coming across to me. And you think, hang on a minute. That's my copy. Oi, you've nicked my copy. I'm Fred in the shed. And of course, she would come back. So you'd be on the side. So you'd be like, break. And you're trying to cut in, and then he'd say, oh, hang on a minute, love, hang on a minute, and he'd go, yeah, the breaker on the side, look, this channel's busy, so if you wouldn't mind going to another channel, I'd really appreciate that. Oh, sorry, love, you were saying there was some idiot there on the side. Oh, okay, I was just saying, I really like chatting. And you'd be like, hey, break, oi, that's my breaker, that's oi, I'm Fred in the shed, not him. And then, because they generally worked out they had a stronger signal than you by this stage, he'd say to the girl, look, I'll tell you what we're going to do, girl, this guy's going to be a pain, so what you want to do, turn your squelch right up, yeah, just until it cuts out my voice, and then just turn it back a little bit, and you'll be able to squelch this idiot out, because he's going to be a pain. And she'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, oh, I've done that, yeah, I can't hear him now. And I'd be like, oh, that's my breaker, that's my... And the first time it happened to me, I was really pissed off. I was like, bloody hell. So, anyway, it started happening a lot. And to the point where on my, I haven't got the radio, I don't know where it is, it's at my mum's somewhere. I need to find my old radio, I miss it. But on the channel select, I actually got some Tipex, and I put a little mark on the, just on the edge there, so I could like speed dial the channel select. So when I got the copy, I would say to him, okay, yep, right, go to channel 30. And then as quick as a flash, I could, without looking at the display, click, 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 and then I was straight on the mic. Hello, yeah, Lady Breaker, yeah, Fred in the shed here, oh yeah, really nice to sort of talk to you, you know, blah, blah. And I'd try and keep it going to sort of try and block the people out. And then when I dekeyed, hopefully, she'd come back, oh, hello, Fred, and it did kind of work. But I will admit, because this, you know, after this happened a couple of times and I lost a couple of breakers, I started doing it myself. If I had a Lady Breaker come on and she was giving me a strong signal saying S8, S9, something like that, and someone come back to her on about an S3, and I'd listen and they'd say, and they'd be like, oh, hello, yeah, okay. Pick a window, and she'd say, oh, can we go to channel 25 because that's my birthday? And they'd say, yeah, no problem, yeah, 25, we're gone. And I'd be straight away, click, 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 onto 25. And then I didn't use his handle though. I didn't, and I'd be like, oh yeah, Lady Breaker, yeah, oh thanks for, oh 25's your birthday, isn't it? Oh, that's a nice day for a birthday. Bit near the end of the month though, isn't it? You know, oh yeah, sometimes. And straight away he'd hear the guy in the back go, yeah, break, that's my break. And I'd say, yeah, sorry mate, this channel's like taken. If you wouldn't mind changing your channel. It was a laugh. I mean, it really was a laugh. We didn't do it maliciously, and it was fair game. And in fact, we had a saying on when we was on there, and we used to say, it was a saying that said, all's fair in love and war, and Lady Breakers on the 1-4, because that's what it was like. You had to be quick to get those breakers. You really did. And but it went. I mean, it went further. There was one instant I remembered, and. Because when you got the Lady Breaker, okay, so let's say it was Silver Lady. Oh hi, oh Silver Lady. So you'd like, if you had a good chat to her and she was nice to talk to, well, you'd listen out for her, and she'd come on. Oh hi, she'd be on the 1-4. Yeah, Silver Lady for a copy. And you'd be like, yeah, Silver Lady, it's Fred in the shed. Oh, hello, Fred. How you doing? Yeah, no problem. Should we go to channel 32? Yeah, I'm gone. Then she'd be on channel 32. Well, you know, after you chatted to her a sort of, well, maybe a couple of times, I wouldn't try it on the first one, but you would see if she'd go for an eyeball, because asking a girl for a date is always a little bit awkward, isn't it? Mainly because they want to go, they don't go anywhere, and don't go, sorry, stuttering. They won't go anywhere on their own, and they always want to go with their friends, and it's always a bit of like, you know, you don't want to get knocked back, rejection. But going for an eyeball was easier. It was very easy to ask a girl to go to an eyeball. It didn't mean the same thing really, but it kind of did, because if you went to the eyeball, and I did do this, and you got on with the girl, then you could ask her for a date, you see. But it was an easy way. But like I say, normally they would want to go, they'd want to bring a friend, and they'd say, oh okay, and we used to do it, oh I could meet you in the park, you know, I want to bring my mate, is there a mate that you could bring? And I did have a guy on CB, luckily I talked him into getting an Amstrad CB, so I'd say, yeah, me and my mate, I'll come up and meet you. And we used to go up there and you meet these girls, and like I say, one of the girls I did meet, I took her out a couple of times. Sometimes you go up and meet them, you know, they wouldn't be what you was expecting, you wasn't what they was expecting, and it would just be a harmless teenage thing. But yeah, so that was your next step. Once you got your Lady Breaker, not so much on the first copy, but it would say, oh, do you want to go fancy an eyeball sometime? You know, we're, you know, blah blah blah. Well, one of these guys, and I didn't actually witness it myself, I was told about it. So one of these guys gets this Lady Breaker, right? They go up on a channel, and they're chatting for ages. He's chatting to her, she's chatting to him. They like the same music. I don't know. She likes Eurythmics. He likes Eurythmics. She likes Nick Kershaw. He said he likes Nick Kershaw. Not many blokes did, but do you know what I mean? He'd really sort of put time and effort in, and he sets up an eyeball with this girl. He was, oh, what are we doing later on this afternoon? And she was like, oh, not much, you know. My dad's asleep on the sofa. My nan's here talking to me mum. And he said, oh, I fancy going up for an eyeball. I could meet you by the war memorial. you know, if you just wanted a little chat, and we could. So she was, oh, okay, yeah, why not, okay. Oh, okay, see you there like 3 o'clock. And she was like, oh, and yeah, 3 o'clock at the war memorial. So he got an eyeball, you see. Well, what happened was, someone overheard that. This guy overheard it, and he got there first. In fact, he not only didn't get to he didn't go to the war memorial. He was walking down the road from there, saw this girl coming up, and just took a chance really, and went up to say, oh hi, you know, you Silver Lady. She was like, oh yeah, and I don't know, the bloke's hand, oh, are you Megadeth? He goes, oh yeah, that's me, Megadeth. Oh, lovely to chat to you on the radio today. And of course, Megadeth, Dave or Gary, whatever, he's standing by the war memorial around the corner. And I was a little bit early, so I thought I'd walk down. Should we go for a coffee? Should we go to the Starburger and get a coffee? And she was like, oh, that'd be nice. Not enough. Off they go down the road. Poor old Megadeth. Well, he's standing there. He's like Nobby No Mates. He's been stood up. And of course, that happened as well. As I said on the other video, a lot of people would do like walk-bys or drive-bys sometimes, and you'd get stood up. So it wasn't uncommon. It still stung a little bit, but it wasn't uncommon. And this happened. This guy stole this bloke's eyeball, and they got on really well. So they started going out, okay? And it was a couple of weeks later that he told her, oh, by the way, I'm actually not Megadeth, you know, I'm something completely different. Oh, I sort of just really sort of heard you on there. But by that stage, she really liked him. But then the real Megadeth, Dave or Gary, he sort of found out about it. These two were going out, and yeah, he found out what you'd done, and of course he wanted to bash his brains in, and it was like, oh, I want to meet you. They were on the radio, and he was, oh, I want to meet you, mate. Come on, you know, we're going to sort this out man to man. And yeah, I don't know whatever happened. I don't suppose it come. There's lots of talk, you know, when you're a teenager. But yeah, he stole his eyeball, and that became his girlfriend. So that sort of thing went on. Not something I wouldn't have done that, but that sort of thing. But yeah, stealing the copies on the 1.4. It was an art form. If you got it right and you just had that little bit extra signal, it was all part of the fun and games. It was very harmless fun, really. You know, it was in the early days, and it all got a bit, it all got silly. People bleep 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 keying over. It's a shame really that it all went a bit crazy, because it was such a laugh, especially when you're young. You know, everything's a laugh, innit? You fall over and it's a laugh. You brush your knee off. Nowadays you fall over, bloody hell, you're limping for about a week and you feel about 80 years old. So it was all, everything was a laugh. Well, there you go. It's 4 o'clock. So I'm going to have to give a call out on the old 305. My voice is a bit croaky now because I've been talking. Fred in the Shed, 1664, calling out on the 305.
Good afternoon, Fred.
Oh, good afternoon, Steph. And how does it find you today?
Yeah, I'm fine over here, mate. I've just put that old antenna up a little bit higher, got it up about another 15 feet, and it's nice and steady at about 35 feet now.
Oh, that sounds good, Steph. You are about plus 20 into London Coney, so it's working very, very well to me, over.
Yeah, thanks, Fred. Can I just try an experiment? Can I turn my linear off, and can you give me a report then, thanks?
Yeah, no problem. Go on then, go ahead.
Okay, this is out the back of the box, Fred.
Okay, well, you've dropped down from plus 20 to a plus 9. But I'll be honest with you, Steph, if I wasn't looking at the signal meter, I wouldn't notice any difference on the audio.
Oh, that's good. That's pleasing me. Thanks, Fred.
Yeah, no problem. Whatever you've done to that McKinley, I know you turned up the deviation on FM and you've turned the audio up. It really works well. It's absolutely booming out. Really good loud audio.
That's what we like to hear. You're coming in.